that time, you see Charlie Flores there on the left-hand side of your screen. He was just talking with the team and not happy with missing this session again.
Seems like something on the front end. You seen him, he had his arms up and he kind of did like it was tucking. So definitely we didn't know exactly what it was. It was definitely something with the bike.
Bobby said after setting that provisional pole time yesterday in the first qualifying session, he said, this is really all about my guys. They're making me look good out there. But he said, we do have some work to do overnight. We can find some improvement. And he did find a couple tenths. As Sean Dillon Kelly that you see on the screen right now in that number 40 BMW, he took over the provisional pole time, but just Bobby Fong then crossed the line and he went back. So right now we've got some quick times being laid down, but everyone is really close to each other. 3 tenths separate the top 3 right now.
Yeah, just everybody is just so close. And that's a big move for Sean, and I think we see a big improvement usually from Sean from Friday to Saturday because his team shows up at all these races, and this is their first year in Superbikes. So they show up, and Friday they're trying to get everything dialed in. They show up here with a blank notebook, and they got to spend all day Friday trying to get up to speed, and they really make big improvements coming out on Saturday morning.
So on lap 18 yesterday in the first qualifying session, Sean Dillon Kelly, his best time was a 1:31.8. Here this morning, after just 4 laps, his best time is down to a 1:31.0. Yes, the track is a little bit better. The temperatures are cooler. We know there's more grip. We've had some times fall in other classes, but that's a huge gain compared to what we've seen from everyone else.
Yeah, it's a huge gain, and I think just for Sean being a rookie, the team able to make some good adjustments overnight. Looks like he's on another good lap if he's able to carry it through, but just able to make those huge gains for a rookie.
We continue to watch Bobby Fong. It's been such an impressive season for the whole Wrench Motorcycles team, and that's one of the things that we talked with him about yesterday is just coming out and immediately unloading from the truck, and on Friday being able to go out there, get all of the laps, do all of the sessions, which, at times last season they would struggle with consistency and reliability, and they just don't have those same issues anymore. Everyone's has been working so hard in the off season, and it's really shown.
And the long winters, and Bobby talks about it, a lot, that what all the team did this off season in the winter to really elevate, and they've gotten rid of a lot of those gremlins and those tough races. And Bobby's been fast. He's been fast at every race so far this year, and hopefully they can continue to carry that out through today and the rest of the year.
See Bobby pull a tear off of his helmet as he looked like he was taking a reset moment there, gonna toss this lap aside and put his head back down. All right, you go ahead and scan that QR code that's on the screen right now and play MotoAmerica for cash both today and tomorrow during the Supersport, the Superbike, and Mission King of the Baggers races. Now, after today's races are over, there will be a whole new set of odds that are posted for tomorrow's races. So go ahead and scan that QR code on your screen and you can get started in betting on MotoAmerica. Roger, I ask you this every weekend when we do this promo. Who are you placing your money on?
I mean, this week I'm probably going to take Bobby. I think with the odds, it'd be a pretty good bet. I wish I would have got it in on Wednesday. It's probably not as good now, but I'm going to go with Bobby. And and if he doesn't pull through, I can tell him he owes me a little money.
He owes you your cost of admission, right? All right, we see Sean Dillon Kelly. He's still out there turning laps. If you look over at the scoring pylon, you can see Bobby Fong and Cam Peterson, who are ahead of him in the time standings right now. They're both on pit lane, as is Jake Gagne and Josh Herron. But Sean Dillon Kelly, he's found something this morning. They made some changes overnight. The pace is certainly there, and now he's just clocking off laps.
And that's the big thing. He's made such a huge jump, almost a full second, and now he's got to do those lap times consistently, not just do one of those lap times when you find all that time, like getting ready for the race. And Sean's able to get out there this morning, and man, he just looks so good on the Superbike. It looks like he's been riding this thing for years, and a lot of it's his talent, and a lot of it too is his teams did a great job putting good people around him and giving him a really good bike. And Sean's able to come out and showcase his talent.
That whole Top Pro Motorsports team, it's one of the things, Roger, we were talking about this during Stock 1000 and learning a new track, but if you remember Sean Dillon Kelly making this move up into Superbike, so really yesterday he had to learn this racetrack as well as this bike.
Yeah, you see him right there. There's a little bump that he runs over right outside right around turn 4, and it's just a little bit of a different line, and for Sean, he likes it, and I think when he gets in the race, it's going to be big for him to get to follow some of the guys that have more experience this track, and maybe see a couple different lines and maybe some bumps that some of the other guys are missing.
See Max Flinders on the number 88, as well as JD Beach out there on the number 95, that BMW. These are two of the riders right now. They're down in, see, JD Beach is down in 8th and Max Flinders down in 12th. So these are two of the riders who are still looking to find a little bit of extra pace, make some improvements, and they've got the next 18 minutes to do it, Roger.
Yeah, and it's going to be a big 18 minutes for these guys to find some time. I mean, that's not a lot. And for JD Beach, we talk about the speed of the BMW and the Ducati. JD Beach, their best top speed there, 158. Heron on the Ducati, their second, 156. And Sean Dillon Kelly, another BMW. But look how close they are. Jake Gagne on the Yamaha there, 156. So you got a lot of brands right there all together, and you can see how close the top speeds are. I was looking at the times from yesterday. It seemed where at the end of the first qualifying where JD was down in 8th, and I went down and I looked at the gap to first, and it was less than a second. And it's just incredible that the Superbike class, the top 10 guys are basically within 1 second, and you look at the paper and you think, man, I'm down here in 8th, and then you're like, oh well, a couple tenths would move me up a huge amount. So today they kind of haven't found that jump that everybody else has found, so it's a little bit further back.
We saw in that shot there on pit lane that the Ducatis are down there. Joe, are you down there near the Ducatis?
Indeed, I've got Josh Heron with me here. Josh, I know you're just getting ready to go out there again. You were 4th yesterday, of course. Tell me how you're finding it so far.
Yeah, it's good. I was surprised that these guys were going that quick because I did my time behind Baz. I honestly thought I was going to come into P1, so to see them doing the 30.6, it's not too far off, but we're closer than we were yesterday, but a little disappointed. But I have a good feeling with myself. I just want to make sure I'm at least on the front of that second row. So we got our work cut out, but we made a pretty big change right now to try to get us to feel a little bit more comfortable in the front. And yeah, I think it should be good.
You're running pretty hard on yourself, Josh, but we know you had that great win in the last round as well. Tell me what you can do after these adjustments to build on that, to try to make that top front row.
Yeah, just trying to stay calm, not get heated, and when the day's not going great, just try to keep putting in the work, and we'll slowly climb our way back there. But we know that we need to be fighting for wins. We know we can be winning, so just got to put the work in and stay calm and believe that we can do it.
Excellent. Well, there's your most recent winner from MotoAmerica. Best of luck, Josh.
For Josh, you could hear it immediately, Roger, that he was beating himself up, thinking that he was going to be higher up the charts, and he said he's got to stay calm, but how difficult is that?
It is, and you make a huge jump, and you think, man, okay, I should be at the top, but everybody else makes a big jump. And when the class is competitive as it is, and you hear, like we heard Bobby talk about yesterday, being fastest, saying all these guys are going to make a huge step. We got to make a huge step as well.
We're watching Bobby as he pulled off to the side there. Looks like he's looking for some clean track.
Yeah, when you're the fastest like Bobby, you run into a problem. Everybody wants to get behind you and see what you're doing, and Bobby just wants to get out there and get some clean laps in.
For Bobby, that 30.652 that he was able to put up this morning so far, it's the provisional pole time, but going back and looking at what he did yesterday, he found a huge chunk of time from there too, almost half a second. But comparing it to pole from last year here, Cameron Beaubier did a 30.6, so we've already dropped from where we were a year ago, and these times are continuing to fall now with 14.5 minutes left in this session. You see Loris Baz is now back out there on the racetrack to see what he can do, currently sitting down in 6th.
A lot of guys yesterday, I think you see Baz, look how hard he's riding there. That was fun to watch, the rear end stepping out. We're struggling with the grip, and I think having that full day of action yesterday and the track temperatures cooling down today, the track looks like it's in really good shape this morning, and everybody, you go back to where Josh Heron last year was a 31.4, and now he's a 31.0, a half a second quicker basically than he was last year.
For a rider like Loris, who is back in the championship now, but he's, you know, with the tires and trying to figure out which tire to use, and when the track is as different as it is, how big of a role does the rider play in determining that?
Well, he plays a role in trying to figure out how to get up to speed as quick as possible. Even like Loris or JD Beach, a guy like that even though they've been to a track before, when you haven't been there in a couple years, it's still hard to come back to it. It's not like you just remember every single thing from a couple years ago. So for Loris, he has to use a lot of his experience trying to get up to speed quicker. He's got to use him and his teammate Josh Herring get along really well and try to go back and forth and pick his brain as much as possible so you can get up to speed quick, and also give your team really good information to try to improve. See Troy Herfoss there a little deep into 3.
If you weren't with us yesterday, this is Troy Herfoss, who is leading the Mission King of the Baggers Championship right now on board a Tytler's Cycle BMW here this weekend, filling in for Cameron Beaubier. We mentioned at the top of this qualifying session, Cameron Beaubier is not out racing this weekend, recovering from a broken heel that he suffered in a crash back at MotoAmerica. So Troy is getting up to speed. He's a 2-time Australian Superbike champion, but first time out on a MotoAmerica Superbike as here this weekend.
Yeah, and just a tough challenge for Troy to jump in and have no seat time on the bike and jump in the Superbike class on a bike and stuff he hasn't ever rode before. So he's getting better, he's chipping away. I think his big problem is he's had a couple crashes on the bagger yesterday. So it's can be hard to come back when you have one day where you crash a couple times.
And we've talked about Troy at all of the tracks that we've been to this year and how quickly he's been able to get up to speed, and just smart. Like, he's just a smart racer, and he's able to lead sessions even though he doesn't know which way the track goes initially. And this weekend it's been a little off.
See Sean there, he was kind of waiting on Bobby there to pull over and try to get behind Bobby and see. It's kind of interesting too when we watch these guys how close they are, and Bobby's not going to let it happen.
Yeah, no, he knows he's on pole. He doesn't need to keep going out and doing laps with guys following him around. And there's Troy Herfoss.
But when you get to watch the guys on the Yamaha and the BMW, so close, it's interesting to see different lines that each rider uses.
Saw that 78 there, Benjamin Smith, still out on the racetrack. Remember, we just had the Stock 1000 qualifying session, and Benjamin Smith had a great session there. But because he is doing Superbike Cup and he's doing Stock 1000 here this weekend, he's able to get double the track time.
And I think that's just huge for Benjamin because he doesn't have a lot of time on the Stock 1000 and get all this track time. And not only that, I think it's huge too when you can get out with the Superbike guys and see what they're doing and see, like, man, they brake late or they get on the throttle so soon. People can tell you all day about it, but it's just different when you get out there with them, and you might only be able to follow them for one corner. Then you got to try to see if you can follow them for 2 corners. But just get out there and learn.
See Jake Gagne. They're the #1 plate. Yesterday he was a 131.8. Right now he's moved himself up into 3rd on that provisional front row with a 131.0. So Attack Performance, Yamaha, they were able to find 0.8 of a second so far. And just as I say that, Sean Dillon Kelly has moved to the provisional pole with a 130.647. He is now 0.005 of a second ahead of Bobby Fong. That's how close Superbike is at the moment.
Yeah, and Sean sees he didn't need that tow. Bobby pulled over and he was able to kind of do that lap on his own. So, Sean, that team did a great job overnight with the bike, and also for Sean as well.
He found 1.2 seconds as we now see Xavi Flores back out on the racetrack. This number 34 from Visual M4X Star Suzuki, filling in for Richie Escalante, who is continuing to recover from injury back in the first round at Road Atlanta, as Xavi now pulls into pit lane. And we go back out to the racetrack, and Josh Herring is back up to speed.
Yeah, and Josh mentioned that they made some big changes there on the front end. So we'll see when he gets back out here if he's able to, if those changes were any better. And a lot of riders are kind of making changes this morning. The grip is a lot better this morning, so they're not really having to work with that this morning. But the bumps, we see the bumps. We've seen the slow-mos. You can see Josh's bike moving around there on the front end. So a lot of the guys are trying to get that front end a little bit better. And we'll see Josh, if he can do a better lap. He's going to get a couple more, and he's going to try to really do those one-lap flyers, and you know, for Josh coming in from the last race where he wins. He comes here today, he's setting 6. He's right behind his teammate. We see them out working together a lot. You see Josh already with his leg out coming in. Didn't go any quicker, so maybe he didn't like those changes that they made.
See Bobby Fong on pit lane now as well, and over 8 minutes left in this session. See the tire coming over the wall there. This crew's gonna send some fresh Dunlop rubber out there for him. Superbike, the only class competing in MotoAmerica that gets the qualifier tire.
Yeah, and it kind of, I believe Sean might be on it now and getting out there, getting a good lap. But for these guys, it's it used to be a qualifier where you only get one really good lap, but now these days these guys can get 2 or 3. Some tracks maybe a little bit more, and I like that better because, you know, if something happens on one lap, your qualifying's not run. You get another opportunity to be able to get that lap in.
As far as tire selections go in Superbike, Dunlop comes ready for each of the riders to be able to select 14 tires that excludes the qualifier. So Superbike a little bit different, but they have 2 different specs to pick from. They have the soft and they have the extra soft, but then they also have this qualifier.
Another good lap for Sean, not better than the 30.6 that he did previously, but a 31.0, that's still a really good lap, able to kind of back up that best lap. So Sean has made a huge improvement from yesterday and overnight and come out this morning, and he looks like he's going to be strong going into the races this afternoon as he's been all year.
You see this overhead shot, you can really tell how many people are starting to file in here at Brainerd International Raceway. We've got a full afternoon of racing in front of us as we continue through the qualifying sessions here this morning. It's a sprawling complex. There's lots of places to go and camp, 200 rustic campsites, plenty of RV camping. It's a great place to come and visit. And you see on the left-hand side of your screen, just below that scouring pylon, that is the drag strip. It's also over there. Plenty of motorsports activities that take place here at Brainerd International Raceway. As we now see Cameron Peterson out on the racetrack, currently sitting in that 3rd position. He was quick early on in the session, a 1:30.8. He's another one of those riders that's been able to find a lot of track time over yesterday. So they made some big improvements, and he's going to be encouraged by the fact that he's also ahead of Jake Gagne.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, being in front of your teammate is huge for Cam, and he mentioned it earlier this year about how good he's riding, and it's the best he felt. He's had some big injuries last year and was able to get healthy, and he can come back. And I just talk about momentum and gaining that confidence. And Cam right now, you can see it in his riding, and even when he's talking, just how confident that he is.
You can see on this lap that Cam Peterson's pushing. Got Ezra Bobio, that 99 that's right in front of him. You can see he's got his personal best in sectors 2 and 3. It's like Ezra knows he's there. So go down to pit lane, you see
JD Beach getting some instructions from his crew chief there, trying to, you know, only when JD goes out, he's only going to get a couple laps. You know, there's only about 4.5 minutes left, and you got to calculate the out lap as well. So he's not going to get too many laps. But, you know, when you're kind of struggling through the weekend, you got to use most of the session to try to get that race set up. When you're searching for some speed, you can't really focus on that one lap.
With the track layout here, Roger, in terms of starting position, being on those front couple of rows, how important is it?
Well, it's huge in this class in general with just how competitive it is. Also, you know, the further this place is hard to pass as well because it's tight and technical, so qualifying is really big as you see Cam Peterson about to come through here, and he's going to find a couple riders riding around on the track. This is going to slow him up a little bit.
See Josh Herron, Brandon Posh, and then Cameron Peterson there, the third bike in your frame. You can see Josh Herron those last couple of corners looking over his shoulder. His teammate Loris Baz was back there. I think that's who Josh was probably looking for, but through comes Cameron Peterson, and now it looks like all of a sudden we're in a Superbike race.
Yeah, and for Cam, that's just unfortunate to be on a fast lap like that and come up on, you know, those riders were looking behind him, but obviously they didn't see Cam. You can see how disappointed he is.
And you can see him throw that hand up in the air as we now see his teammate Jake Gagne. He's gone personal best in sector 2 and 3. So Jake is on a lap right now that would put him, if he can continue this, below that provisional pole time. So see what he can finish it off with. A 30.622 for Jake Gagne, moving to the top of the Superbike standings right now with just under 3 minutes remaining in this qualifying session.
What a great lap for Jake, able to really maximize that extra grip. And we see Jake riding like, you know, this could be a really big session for Jake if he can end up here on pole and get this pole position like we're used to seeing. And, you know, early on in the qualifier, you know, I mentioned Jake has struggled this year, and it sounds weird when you talk about a rider struggling, but he's leading the points. You know, Jake has just set the bar so high for himself the last 3 years. If he's not winning or fighting for wins every race, I can think he's struggling.
You see Loris Baz there at the back of that frame, the third rider. He went red, meaning best on the racetrack in the second sector. Personal best in sector number 3, and you see that minus .082. That means that he is below the provisional pole as it sits right now, but what he has to do is be able to finish out this lap.
Yeah, he caught Brandon Posh a lot there on the brakes, so, you know, Brandon's on a good lap as well, but see what Loris does, top of the board.
30.601 for Loris Baz, now putting himself on the provisional front row. But as we're looking across at timing and scoring, Jake Gagne, he's been able to go red. But Bobby Fong, who's not in the shot right now, he just took pole back from Loris Baz, a 1:30.537 for Bobby Fong. There's still more pace out there with under 2 minutes left.
Yeah, and Cam Peterson's out there still trying to put in a good lap, but he's going to have a couple more laps on his tires compared to the other guys because he went out a lot earlier than they did and just didn't have the opportunity to get a clean lap. Loris is in a good spot, though, right now, right there behind his teammate to continue to try to see if he can get that top spot back.
For Cameron Peterson, he went personal best in the first sector. So we're following on the screen right now, and through sector 2, also personal best. So he's on a lap right now that's going to improve his pole time. But there is your provisional pole sitter, Bobby Fong, not making any personal improvements this lap, but still showing an improvement overall.
And he's going to have to improve if Cameron's able to finish this lap off. Cam had, you know, a rider in front of him that could hurt him a little bit, but Bobby, you can just see right there how hard he's pushing.
And he lost speed there in the third sector for Bobby. For Cam Peterson, he also lost it in the third sector. 21 seconds remaining on the board. Anyone coming across the stripe right now is still going to get another lap.
Yeah, and for Cam Peterson, it's just unfortunate he didn't get a clean lap. If you put his laps, Cam Peterson's laps together, he was definitely would be, I think, on that front row. He just seems like he caught riders always at a tough place to pass. Great qualifying for Bobby Fong, though, in the Wrench Racing. Was on pole last year at Pittsburgh. Now they're on pole again this year at Brainerd. Just a great job, Bobby and the whole team.
Just to finish your point about Cam Peterson not getting that clean lap, when you look at the sectors that he was able to put together, and if he was able to put them all in the same lap, his best potential lap time would have been a 1:30.585, and you're right, Roger, that would put him right there in the middle of the first row. So we now see JD Beach finishing out his qualifying session. JD's still sitting down in 8th position right now after going back to pit lane. We saw him sitting there talking to his team, and they put the fresh tires on.
wasn't able to go quicker.
There's a replay of a moment during this lap that we were just watching complete.
You see that bump, he's just going over and it really upsets the bike. The big moment there and just pushing hard, trying to get a really good lap. You can see how hard these guys are pushing, and that bump just really upset the bike. That's kind of the same bump we seen early on in the session that Sean Dillon Kelly was going over as well.
See Bobby Fong and the whole team now congratulating one another after another stellar qualifying performance for Bobby Fong, putting himself up to the top of the time charts, right where we saw him after practice and qualifying session number 1 yesterday for Bobby Fong. That 1:30.537, your Superbike pole sitter. Now Tom Duma, for the 2024 season, Tom Duma Fine Jewelers of Ohio will produce custom championship rings and pendants for the MotoAmerica champions in the Steel Commander Superbike, Mission King of the Baggers Supersport, and Mission Mini Cup by Motul classes. Tom will work with each of the champions to choose from several designs with retail values between $12,000 and $15,000.
That's incredible. What a trophy at the end of the year. A ring that valuable, and then also you get to design it. I think that's the coolest part. You get to put your own touch on it.
Something that you'll remember forever. For sure, you saw Bobby Fong do that practice start. He's now going to make his way back around the racetrack and meet up with his team to be able to debrief a little bit, but also celebrate the work that was done overnight to put them in contention there for that pole position. He was able to take advantage of it with Loris Baz and Jake Gagne finishing out row number 1.
Yeah, great qualifying for Sean Dillon Kelly as well. Just look how close those guys are. Cameron Peterson, Josh Herron, all top 6 within a half a second. Brandon Posh, JD Beek there, 8. Chavi Flores, we've seen him shaking his head, pulling in the pits a lot. Had some issues early on.
Yeah, you only got a handful of laps. Chavi Flores did, able to start there on the 3rd row. He's got some work to do as we get ready now to go into racing for Steel Commander's Superbike. Take a look at some of the highlights from this qualifying session. We'll start off with that number 1 plate, Jake Gagne, starting 3rd.
That team did a great job overnight. Jake looked more like himself this morning and went on provisional pole there with a couple minutes remaining, but wasn't able to hold it. But I think you talk to Jake, he'll be really happy with where he's at right now. The speed they found overnight and being on that front row.
Another team and rider that was able to find a lot of pace overnight will be starting in 2nd. Just ahead of Jake Gagne, it's Loris Baz here on this number 76 Ducati.
Strong weekend for Loris, 3rd yesterday, 2nd today. So, you know, for him, it's been a huge turnaround